Welcome everyone, it's Anthony TDG or Anthony the Dubstep Gamer. So I'm here with the Charlotte kit explanation video. I did one for Farina in my last video and that one did really well. I'm really happy for that. So I'm gonna do another one but for Charlotte. This video is gonna be a lot shorter because Charlotte's kit is way easier to understand. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting things off with a brief summary of her kit, she is a 4-star Cryo Catalyst healer. She has a skill that functions like Nahida's and a burst that functions like Jean's. As previously stated, she is a Cryo Catalyst user, so that means she will apply cryo with her normal and charge attacks. Her Arkhe alignment is Pneuma, and she can be able to apply Pneuma when she does a charge attack, which has a cooldown of 6 seconds for each use. As previously stated, her skill is very similar to Nahida's in the sense that it can apply a mark to enemies. If you hold the skill, it applies a cryo mark to enemies that can mark up to 5 enemies, and if you hold it for longer, it marks the enemies for longer, and well, just overall the cryo application lasts longer. Tapping the ability is not really worth it because it only applies a mark up to 5 enemies in front of her. There's also the added benefit that when you hold the skill, Charlotte can actually move around freely, unlike Nahida where she can only spin around in a circle. Since there's no gameplay on Charlotte out right now, I'm gonna assume that the holding and tapping of the skill is gonna be a camera state very similar to when you take a camera picture with a gadget, or when you use that one ability from the event where you take a snapshot at enemies' weak points and then you kill them instantly. Now with the explanation of her skill out of the way, I'm gonna briefly explain her elemental burst. Her elemental burst is very similar to Jean's in which that it creates an elemental field, so instead of it being animo field, it's a cryo field that will periodically heal your party members, and it does a big initial heal on the cast of the burst. And also like Jean, the healing scales off of Charlotte's attack. But yeah, that was pretty simple. Now that we got over the elemental burst, I'm going to briefly go over the Ascension passives. Her Ascension 1 passive is that when opponents marked by her skill are defeated, her burst cooldown will be decreased by 2 seconds. This cooldown decrease can be triggered 4 times every 12 seconds. To briefly go over her Ascension 4 passive, for each Fontaine party member that's not Charlotte, Charlotte gets a 5% healing bonus, and for each non-Fontaine party member, Charlotte gets a 5% cryo damage bonus. To briefly go over her passive talent, after equipping the special analysis zoom lens, Charlotte's skill hold mode cannot trigger its original effects, but you can now take photos in a more special way. I'm not exactly sure what this implies, but maybe you get like a special filter for the camera when you want to take pictures now, like maybe a more Fontaine, dirty looking filter, or one similar to the mugshot that one character took of us. Now that I went over her kit and her passive talents, let's go over her best team. So she's going to be slotted in any team that you would put Diona and Layla in because she is the third defensive option and she fills the same roles. So you can always slot her in an Ayaka Freeze team, a Eula team. You could try like other teams like a Hyper Fridge team, but I don't think it'd exactly turn out that great. She's gonna have like some synergy with Fontaine characters, especially since she does get a healing bonus when a Fontaine character's in there, so she's definitely gonna probably synergize with them well. But yeah, I still think that her best teams are gonna be Freeze teams, but she could slot in as a defensive option for any other team that might need it, even if they don't want the cryo. But yeah, now that we know her possible best teams, I'm gonna go over her artifacts and weapons that she might be able to use pretty well. It's gonna be a lot simpler because anything that has HP on it, she's not really going to want, as her healing doesn't really scale on HP, so Thrilling Tales and Prototype Amber are out of the question. So you might want to go for something that has attack percent on it, like the new Blacksmith weapon, or even any 5-star options that might have attack percent on it, like the Skyward Atlas. As for her best artifacts, I think just undoubtedly her best artifact set is going to be Noblesse Oblige, as she is reliant on her burst for that healing, and it's good to provide the attack percent for your team. As for her best artifact stats, it's pretty simple. You want to go for an attack percent Sans for her healing and damage, a cryo damage bonus Goblet for that cryo damage, and a crit rate or crit damage circlet, whichever one balances your ratio. But you could go for crit rate more if you're going to proc Favonia's Codex, because she's going to be pretty energy hungry. I mean, you might want to go for an energy recharge Sans instead if you can't get enough energy recharge on your substats. So yeah, my closing thoughts is, I think Charlotte is in a pretty good spot right now. She seems like she's not going to be one of those dead 4-stars that nobody's going to use. She's going to have a solid spot in the Ayaka Freeze teams and any other teams you might need a cryo healer. But that's going to be all for this video. If you guys like this video, please leave a like and subscribe, as I very much so appreciate it. 98% of you guys are not subscribed, so it would always make my day if you guys subscribe. But as always, take care and have a great day.